Metropole Television, your premier channel for business in Eastern Central Africa. We're still telling you exactly what the Yatani's document really means and where is getting its hope from in running the economy 2020-2021. As we wait for 1st of July to officially start the new financial year, we have to tell you exactly what areas sort of present a discussion point and what areas you need to be aware of even before you begin your 2020-2021 financial year, just to help us therefore paint a picture on the macroeconomic environment and especially the financial services sector in the document 2020-2021 is the Miradi Capital CEO, Abraham Mathogo. Good morning, sir.
My pleasure to
How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Anyway, so there's this conversation that now everybody has to look at, especially when we're talking about the macroeconomic environment under which the 2020-2021 budget supposes to operate in. Well, the surprise was that the projection for GDP this year is going to be 3%. We've seen a lot of them. The guys were even talking about 1%, but Yatani came and said, wow, we project it to grow up to 3%. When you look at it, because that's exactly the question that we're asking this morning, where does he get his hope from that we are bound to grow by 3% and therefore jump up to 5.8% next year?
I think anything above 1% is ambitious, to be
Yes.
quite honest. I think if you look at what's going on around the world,
Yes.
I think people should just be happy if you're able to just retain, actually just be below zero, don't go below zero. So anything below between 0 and 1, I think it would be a fair estimate. I think 3 is ambitious.
Yes.
I don't think we'd make 3. Don't forget, we've already done half the year, and you can see how badly we've done. So I think, and to be honest, I don't know where he's getting his hope from, but I think also being the Minister of Finance, I think he has to remain optimistic.
Yes.
That and probably he's working on a best case scenario that COVID will go away quickly, will jumpstart quickly, because it is possible, but the chances are very slim.
Yes.
And it is purely on a best case scenario where everything goes on a best case scenario, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Yes.
So I think we'd rather work with 1% and below.
Yes,
Yeah.
pretty much. So I want to point you out to another area as well. If you looked at the way the document was presented, you'll see that development expenditure is shrinking.
Yes.
By the financial year, you will see last year it
Yes.
shrunk, this year it's even shrunk further. Would you say that that also is another area you pointed and say, then what is the agenda for this government if it's not to develop the economy? For you, what would you say is the reason behind this shrinking development funds?
You see, it's a reality. It's a reality that has already that has come home.
Yes.
That several things. One, we have got 2 elephants in the room: the public wage bill,
Yes.
and the public debt repayments. Those 2 are consuming slightly more than what we are collecting on their own.
Yes.
So which means the only place you can cut back now remains the development expenditure, as much as it's the wrong thing to do.
Yes.
Because you see, these 2 are not discretional. They have to be paid. So we're in a very tight corner whereby we have to look for ways of cutting down these 2 things: the public wage bill and the repayment.
Yes.
And the repayment, we've talked here and we'll continue talking about it, that the only way out is to reschedule our debts.
Yes.
And that can be done. And we can easily half what we are paying.
Yes.
The public wage bill, yes, can be brought down, but that is a process.
Yes.
It can be brought down by natural attrition, by many measures, which the SRC has spelled out what it wants to do.
Yes.
But there has to be political will to follow through that process.
Yes.
Because until we deal with those 2 monsters, we'll continue cutting our development expenditure. Because remember, our income is not growing as fast as our expenditure is. And now we're headed to a season where our economy was already shrinking before COVID, and now COVID simply accelerated that process. So we'll have very little income, because even the projections they're putting for 1.6, 1.7 trillion collection, I think it's a very tall order. When you think about it, where will it really come from? So we are basically looking at even borrowing more than what they've said of about 800 billion.
Yes.
We'll probably borrow $1 trillion plus. So, and that debt will again go to the and compound our problem. So next year we'll be budgeting for paying $1 trillion. This year we're paying 900 billion.
Yes.
We'll pay $1 trillion. So if we don't deal with this issue, we'll eventually grind to a halt.
Yes.
That is the harsh reality.
Yes. Now let's talk about this debt repayment for 2020-2021. We have put it at 905 billion.
Yes.
That is just a couple of figures shy of
$1 trillion.
$1 trillion.
Yes.
And then if you look at what we're collecting right now, Abraham, it's 1.6T. And you're actually saying, good. When you look at the debt repayment, which is at 905B, vis-a-vis what we are collecting 1.60, and you're saying, it might not get there, is a tall order for carry. What's going to happen for anybody listening to you right now? What happens when the government, all right, is supposed to pay their debt and their ordinary revenue, that's the money that they get from carry, really doesn't come close to what they need to get?
You see, the one thing we don't want to do is to get to a point of default.
Yes.
But you see, naturally, if we continue the way we are going, that's where we're headed. Remember the other day, we rolled over government paper.
Yes.
Something that's never happened. So those signs are already starting to show. Because when you're paying 900 billion for just on debt repayment,
yes,
and you're only collecting 1.6, so I was telling you, there's not even enough to pay wages and pay debt from what you're collecting.
Yes.
So basically, we are financing our entire development expenditure from debt. And remember, if you're paying 900 billion for a 6.2 give or take trillion debt, it also means that our debt terms are not the best, because we're probably paying a sixth of it.
Yes.
We should be paying much less. That's what I'm saying. To me, we should be paying something around 500 and below.
Yes.
Because as I said, and I'll continue saying it, that Kenya is a sovereign state, number one. Number two, Kenya is an ongoing business. We'll be here long after all of us are gone. So we should not be in any hurry to pay any debts. Let's stagger them over time. Let's get moratoriums. Let's improve our terms. Let's refinance them. Let's do whatever we need to do to pay less and less. Even if we could be paying 200 billion a month, that would be okay. Because there's no hurry. Kenya will be here a million years to come.
Yes.
Yeah. So the solution still remains that we are putting too much pressure on carry to collect from an economy that is shrinking. And anyway, even if they did their best, they cannot collect so much. So what we need to tame is our expenditure, the fiscal discipline. And
yes,
the two elephants in the room, debt repayment and the wage bill.
Yes.
And you see, those are just two items. You've not even spoken about the other portions of the recurrent expenditure. So this thing needs to be looked at globally, because you see, when you're looking at a situation where you don't have enough to do what you're supposed to do, then shrink what you're doing. We need to relook at the things we're doing. Do we need to do them all? And do we need to do them now? Then, because we will need to start moving towards balanced budgets, because that's what's going to save us.
Yes.
Because this thing of doing budgets, the deficit budgets by design, can only take us so far.
Pretty much.
And I think we are just about there.
All right. Now, Ukur Yatani says, and this is exactly belonging to your section now, I just want us to either approve or disapprove his statement. He's saying, when he looks at the financial services sector in the country as we do not of it today, he's saying they are quite stable despite the shocks of the COVID-19 pandemic. I don't know how much weight we give the financial sector when we're talking about the growth of the economy or development for the economy. Do you share the same sentiment? And why don't you take us back to the report we just got 2 weeks ago that the NPLs have shot to 13.1%, which you said, according to you, it's already bad. The question is just how bad is it?
Yes. For now, yes, they're stable, because they can still absorb 13, even up to 20. But see, the thing is, going by best practice,
yes,
that we were already in bad territory.
Yes.
Number two. And also, it's good to look at trends. They're going higher and higher and higher. And I qualified that statement and said,
yes,
that this figure has been computed using the current CBK standards that they're using.
Yes.
So the question is, what if we were to test them using IFRS 9? What would it look like? And that will be the ultimate test. Because stability or unstability of a bank is two things. One, it's capital base, and two, the public confidence in it.
Yes.
No bank can survive loss of public confidence. Any bank, even the top bank in Kenya, can be run down in a day, because all that needs to happen is for all the depositors to walk their door and ask for their money. No bank has all the money with it today, because they've given it out. So they only keep the liquidity of about 20% to give to those who need to come for it. So talk about the stability. Yes, they are stable, but if this continues, then it will question, one, their capital strength,
yes,
and two, the public confidence in them. And the trends, normally when those kind of shocks come in, what happens is we start getting skewed towards the top banks. People start feeling jittery about the smaller ones and start going to the bigger ones. And secondly, even the bigger ones can only absorb so much. Because don't forget, when all these industries start closing, start suffering, start being needy, all those cows will come home towards the bank.
Yes.
Because they all have debt.
Yes.
Because if you have no money, you will not pay your debt.
Yes.
Now, if that happens consistently, then what happens to the quality of the book that the bank has? So going forward, we need to really think about how we can rescue the economy to rescue the banks, not the other ground. Because their suffering will be as a consequence of the economy, of the economy suffering. Because when all the sectors are doing badly, it will eventually, because even now, if you go to most banks, they have restricted their lending because they're already aware of what's happening, because they have the book with them. They know these sectors are suffering, so they're not lending anymore to these sectors. They're basically lending to the food industry and to the medical industry.
Yes.
Very controlled, because right now, so you'll find even most liquidity in banks is high. That's why you see even when the government comes for borrowing to the market, they're easily having their way. Yeah.
All right. Now, since we're talking about the banks now, do you feel, therefore, if you look at the numbers of internal lending versus the foreign lending,
Yeah.
for the very first time again, we did see a big shift. We do have a higher rate of foreign lending vis-a-vis the internal lending that the government intends to get into 2020, 2021. Abraham, from where you sit this morning, would you say that this is the government trying to extend an olive branch to the banking sector, knowing very well that they have suffered from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic? I mean, going by what the government has been saying, that we are supporting MSMEs in the economy, then why would you have this big shift between internal lending and internal borrowing and external borrowing?
You see, ideally, you should borrow more externally than internally.
Yes.
For the simple reason that when you borrow internally, you basically crowd out
Yes.
the local sector from
Yes.
borrowing. And banks, being who they are, and being driven by risk, they feel safer lending to sovereign, to the state.
Yes.
Because the state, they are more or less likely to get their money back with very little hassle.
Yes.
So, but when governments borrow out externally, then they free the local credit for local consumers.
Yes.
And also, even if you look at it rate-wise, it's cheaper to borrow from out there. Because see, out there you can get rates of 1, 2, but locally here, there's nobody who's going to lend you. You see, right now they're doing T-bills of 7, 8%.
Yes. Yes.
So for two reasons, for the price, it's better, but even better for leaving the local credit for the consumers. Because if they have the capacity to hog it all. And for banks, as I told you, they're here to make profit.
Yes.
So they have no problem lending it all to the government. And I think about 5-6 months ago, that had happened, where most banks were just stocking their money in government paper.
Yes.
And that trend doesn't help, because that's not banking, because they're just taking deposits and then giving it to the government. The government could easily go directly for the deposits. So what you want is for the banks to take deposits and lend to the economy. Make their money, but grow the economy.
Yes.
Yes.
So why this disparity now, Abraham? Because when you look at it, it's as if they're going to crowd the local lending now, because they have actually taken that perspective. And are we going to look at what COVID-19 has done to the international money market? What has it done so far? Is that what we're looking at it from? Because why would they borrow much more internally than externally?
Again, because it is a path of least resistance.
Yes.
Because for them to borrow locally, all they have to do is advertise an auction, and banks come trooping in.
Yes.
For the external one, they have to go through all the hoops and loops of explaining themselves and explaining what they want to do with the money. But locally, when they are doing the auction, they don't have to say anything.
Yes.
They just have to ask for the money, give a rate, and banks come for it. So it is easier. It is easier, it is faster, but it is not. It is not cheaper, but it is easier. And know when you're in a corner, you want what comes to you faster.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. So that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah, that's what
Yes.
it is. Yes.
I want to go in for what comes to me
Yes,
first.
yes.
Okay, let's talk about another financial services sector that he actually did mention. He talked about the Kenya Remortgage Financing Company.
Yes.
Well, they did make an announcement that they have raised 2 billion, just 2 billion. All right. Would you say that that's a good performance for the Kenya mortgage refinancing company?
You see, the truth be told, to date, that company has not been operationalized. It exists. Everything is there.
Yes.
It is not.
But they have raised 2 billion.
Yes.
That's what
they have raised 2
saying.
billion.
Yes.
They were raised another 35 from the World Bank.
Yes.
But what was the model? The model was that Kenyan Mortgage Refinance Company takes out refinances banks Whatever you've given to mortgages, they give it back to you, and then they take it over. And then now the banks take that money and re-lend it.
Yes.
Okay. Now that has not happened yet. That's number one. Number two, we have still not cured the question why we only have about 20,000 mortgages in Kenya.
Yes.
Why is it? Is it a question of price? Is it a question of culture? What drives that number to such a low number? Bearing in mind that maybe quarter of that number
yes.
are bankers.
Yes.
So the penetration is very, very, very low. So and then the other question is, what does 2B? Is 2B a critical mass to have an impact? Because in anything you do, it must come within the critical mass to have impact.
Yes.
So this sector, I don't think 2B falls below. Yes, they were to start it, but the question, first of all, let's operationalize it, let's fund it, and let's see how it goes. But also cure the question is, why are people not going for mortgages?
Yes.
So the question is, do you want to do mortgages or do you want to do rent to own? Because the ultimate goal is ownership. So the method notwithstanding.
Yes.
So if people are not comfortable with mortgages, then let's look for another model. Because what we are interested in is ownership of homes.
Yes.
So let's keep our focus on that. But I think we are focusing on the method.
Yes.
Instead of focusing on the ownership of the house.
All right. Then he actually even said, wow, that he has given a 3 billion guarantee scheme, therefore, that is supposed to go to the MSMEs within the economy. And he said this is a lot, going by the fact that most of the MSMEs have been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Wow. Compare that with the numbers of job losses that we've already been told so far. It's already feared that over 700,000 youth have lost their jobs as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. And that goes directly to saying that businesses have pretty much stopped operating. So compare this 3 billion vis-a-vis that number. Would you say that they would have worked a different model as opposed to saying, well, there's a guarantee scheme here for these businesses that have been affected?
You see, the guarantee scheme model has worked very well, especially with the Asian Tigers and elsewhere.
Yes.
So it can work here. But again, let's get this thing started. We are talking about a lot of things, but we're not getting them started. And not just getting them started is how we get them started and how we run them.
Yes.
Because because ultimately we have to find out how this 3 billion gets to the person who needs it. What is the mechanism of getting it to them and getting it back? Because don't forget, what the guarantee scheme does, it de-risks the project or reduces the risk so that some other lender can jump in because the government has put their money on the table or they have put their hand on it.
Yes.
So and that model has worked elsewhere. Because the reason MSMEs are not touched by the private banks or the private institutions is because of the perceived level of risk. But if the government can come through the guarantee and now reduce that risk to a level where the bank feels comfortable to come in, then that way now the scheme catalyzes the credit process.
Yes.
That's what we want. We don't want a mass to lend. We want mass to catalyze. You remember in your chemistry, the catalyst used to be a small pinch, but it starts a whole process.
Yes.
That's what we're looking at.
Yes.
But we should not look at that amount as the amount that is going to the SMB. Because 3 billion is still not a lot, given the massive scale of that sector. Remember, the government has come up with very many things, including the Act and creating a registrar of MSMEs. They're trying a lot. But I think we need to refocus our energy. We need to synergize whatever we're trying to do and focus on the ultimate person we are looking at. And that is that small guy who is dying off because they're gasping for air and there's no one coming to their help.
Yes. Good. Now, there's already a budget deficit of 840.6 B.
Yes.
That's a big figure as well.
Yes.
Now, there's already talk of how we do need a supplementary budget as early as September, just to sort of go into the loopholes that Yatani has failed to address in this document. From where you sit this morning, Abraham, what are these top areas that you feel that were not well addressed by the 2020-2021 budget?
You see, the first and obvious one is that I don't think we'll hit that target, the coalition target. So the 800 will probably be $1 trillion or more. Yes. In my humble opinion. And when you hear people talking of a supplementary budget within 3 months, so we are basically saying that this budget is not well thought out according to them. It's not according to me, but according to them. That's why people are
Yes.
talking about another.
Yes.
But also, we must hand it to Honorable Atani, because what options did he have? You have a shrinking economy. You have COVID hovering over you. You have the big four to deal with.
Interesting you should say
Yes.
what options they have.
Yes.
The options that they have
Yes.
is to actually give us a bigger budget number.
Yes, but you see, budget is not about a wish list.
Yes.
Yeah, we can wish even 7 trillion, but where is it going to come from? So the question is, we
Yes.
want a realistic budget.
Yes.
But again, as I told you, he's constrained by those two big monsters, the wage bill. So his budget literally starts from around 1.8. It does not start from 0. 1.8 is done. So now less. So he basically he just did a budget for about $1 trillion.
Yes.
These are two are already done for him.
Yes.
So he's in a very bad corner. And this collection of KRA, if it does not materialize, he has to borrow more. You see? And then the development budget is being slashed every day. So he's short of revenue. So unless you can grow your revenues, there is no other way out.
Yes.
Because we have cut what we can cut. And the two big monsters have not been touched because we've not rescheduled our load, we've not cut our public wage bill. So these are small things. We talk about cutting foreign trips, cutting per diems. Those are small, very small items. They will not have any impact. What will have impact is today if you reduce the repayment from 900 billion to 500 billion. That has impact. If we cut the wage bill by a quarter, that has impact. Because you see, for small items, no matter how many you remove, there's no impact. You just need to look for a big one and hit it hard. Then for revenue collection, I think as much as the economy is struggling, I think KRA now has to expand. And I like some of the measures that you were speaking on the previous segment.
Yes.
About going to areas that have not been done and levelizing the field, especially that 1% tax.
Yes.
Because corporates have been doing very bad, have been cutting out the big corporates. All they have to do to not pay tax is to show a loss. That's not difficult. That's why they employ very, very clever CFOs. But now,
Yes.
It's very hard to doctor your turnover. You can doctor your profits very easily, but you cannot doctor because turnover can easily be checked using other methods.
Pretty much.
So now, when they say that if you make a loss, you pay 1%.
You're gonna pay 1% on that.
Or if you make a profit
Yes.
that is below that 1%, you pay the 1%. So you are damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yes. Pretty much. All right. Now, Abraham, I gotta talk to you about this as well. Every time that we do have the CS reading a budget, is that people try to figure how they are going to place themselves within that budget. Most importantly, the Jubilee government, which we do not now has just one budget cycle.
Yes.
They've been running on the Big Four agenda. But you did see, we only had 128 billion that was pushed directly into the Big Four agenda. What are we saying about this budget? Are we saying no development at all? We just want to sustain ourselves and get out of government. And for anybody listening to you this morning, asking themselves the question, how do I fit my business within this document so that I can make more? Because if that's what the stress of the government is, then it's going to chance that I'm going to be more profitable after 2020, 2021. How do you tell that person who's trying to really figure where to place themselves within this document?
Let me put it the other way.
Yes.
I think since the government is almost on a revenue plateau, I think then they have to start looking for ways to tap into private money. And the best way to tap into private money is through the PPP.
Yes.
And if you looked at the budget, they said that they are going to revise that act
Yes.
to remove unnecessary approvals because it is an act full of approvals and processes and processes. You will never finish. So they will need to rework it, and it's good Atani has said it, that they will need to rework it so that it's easier. So that easier, because once it's easier, then there's so much money here in the private sector, in the capital markets, in others, and other investors. But those people need to know how to plug in, and they don't have time to waste or doing a year of approvals. They want a simple process that is easy to understand, and they plug in. Because if we can do that, then what would happen is the government would be able to come out of ventures that are profitable and stay in the space of public goods. Public goods, I mean roads, bridges, things that don't make you a financial return, but give economic return.
Yes.
Economic return, businessmen are not interested in because they're not in the business of welfare. Economic return has to do with welfare. How well does that bridge, when you cross over a bridge, the good feeling you get, the faster you move, but it has no profit to the person who built it. But there are ventures that government is in, like some parastatals that the government is in, probably we may need to exit. So the government is only left in strategic businesses and in public goods. If they are left in that space only, then the money we have will be enough to do those things. Because we'll not need the size of government we have.
Yes.
We'll need less people to deliver. Then we now engage and partner with the private sector to deliver government mandate, with the private sector getting their fair share of the profit. So we all win. And then the citizen gets good service and gets good goods. And if you look at most countries that have developed, they've always tapped into that because there's a lot of it. But the person with that money wants a return. Then they want to participate, but they don't participate for social return. They are for economic return. So globally, having said that, I think in totality, that is where they should look, because clearly we are reaching a point where we cannot tax anymore. But one more addition: there are a lot of people who still go tax-free. We need to find a way of getting to those people, because I think there are more people who don't pay tax than those who do. So when we say we have reached our plateau, maybe we've reached a plateau of where we are. We need to get out of this room we are in and go and find them.
All right, that is Abraham Muthago, the CEO of Mirwadi Capital, helping you understand exactly what is going on right now in the government as Ukur Yatani tries to navigate, according to his own words, a very, very complicated budget for 2020-2021. Taking back to the time that he came into the studio talking about our budget deficits and what that means, talking about the chances of KRA and what that means to you, and as well talking about the talk about supplementary budget already. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. But once we come back now, in just a few minutes, if you walk around, hotels are reopening, and they're reopening within this time when they're trying to figure out the COVID-19 pandemic status within the country. And if you check, the numbers are rising because we're coming from a weekend of another 137. That is as far yesterday. What does that mean for anybody trying to run their businesses now in the hospitality sector? And are they happy with what the government did the other day in terms of an economic stimulus package? Have they got it, and how are they using it? Once we come back, that is a conversation. You're still watching Metropole TV.